Appreciate that very much. First of all, I want to just a big round of applause for Kevin Mira, one of the founders of City of Angels. The job that he's doing, incredible. And a shout out and a round of applause for my co-host and co-chairman, Scott Kivitz. Detective Kivitz does something that most law enforcement people are kind of getting, they're not there yet, where the partnership of law enforcement with this heroin addiction and the crisis that we face, especially here in New Jersey, it's guys like Scott Kivitz that get it and understand the critical role that law enforcement can play to help you as you get toward that recovery. Let me just ask, before we get started here, I want to introduce Scott. How many here are recovering addicts? How many are? All right, just a round of applause for all of them. The courage that it takes to stand up and say that. You know, you go back a few years and so many people couldn't admit they had a problem. So many parents we meet. You know, I do this every day on New Jersey 101.5 in the morning and on Chasing News at night. We're not afraid to tackle the issue of heroin addiction. As you may know, in New Jersey, the deaths from heroin are 3 times the national average. The problem over the past couple of years has only gotten worse. And with all the wrangling and the political nonsense that goes on in Trenton, the end result is we have fewer beds now than we had years ago. So, you know, we can't wait for the politicians to solve this problem. It comes down to all of us. And organizations like the City of Angels, like the Loud and Clear Foundation, these organizations across the state, these are volunteer organizations. And everyone here that you see working, handing out water, taking registration, wearing one of these shirts, they're volunteers. So please give them a round of applause because they're not getting paid to do this work. And it's so important. And you know, today's race, the money is going to go to help people directly. So I never want to discount the idea of how critical these organizations are. So thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for giving us the honor of just standing here with all these courageous individuals. And I want to introduce Detective Scott Kivitz.
Hey guys, thanks for everybody for the support. City of Angels, one of the greatest, really, nonprofits out there that I met. You know, met through Kevin 6 years ago. And I look and I think back about 6 years ago. Where were we? Everybody did their own thing, right? Hospitals did their own thing. You know, nonprofits did their own thing. Recovery coaches were, you know, not really affiliated. People were just doing their own thing. All had the heart to do it. Now where are we now? We're all together. We are a task force. If you look up the definition of a task force, it's multiple different entities coming together as one objective with a mission statement. So we have this task force now. We bridged all the gaps, all the stakeholders together right now for the purpose of doing what's right. Our hearts were there. Now we're all together with our hearts doing one mission statement. So the CARE program is what we launched in Mercer County. It's endorsed by the Mercer County Prosecutor Angela Onofre, the hospitals, Robbinsville Township, and it's now been spread through other townships. We have all the stakeholders together where we arrest somebody, and obviously if somebody gets arrested, they still have to answer for the charges. But what we could do at that time is they need that intervention. They need the intervention then, because the next morning it's a different personality, and it's that addiction that's going to take over. So we take care of it at that time. After they get arrested, we have them speak to, you know, recovery coaches, and then we try to get them on a plane or drive them to these rehabilitation centers, detox, and that's the goal. And then we work with them. And again, they still have to answer for the charges, but at least at that point they can get the help where they need it right at that time. So that's what the CARE program is, Community Addiction Recovery Effort. So we have the media, we have the hospitals, we got the nonprofits, we got the recovery coaches. We're all together as a task force, and that's what it's all about.
Nice.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to thank everybody for coming here. I'm Kevin Mara with City of Angels. I'm one of the people who've been here since the beginning. Just a couple things. Art Ackerman is the chair of the walk. He's put this together. And all his volunteers, as Bill said, if you have a minute, stop and say thank you. The second thing I want you to know is this is our big fundraiser, but this is actually a practice, because recovery advocates, Mike, John, Joe, raise your hand. Your walk is next Sunday. Next Sunday is Recovery Advocates, so you guys all have to be at that walk too, because it's all about recovery.
We're gonna get all thinner.
So you can practice. Thanks, Scott. All right. I had a sandwich on the turnpike on the way over. That's why my stomach's a little bloated. But there's a very important tent. Mary Mosner puts together the Reflections tent.
Yes.
So it's in memory of all of our families that we have lost through this terrible disease. And I just want to say one thing about Bill and Scott. You know, when you look at law enforcement and education and the medical field, they're three of the biggest components of trying to get this disease under control. The last one we thought would be over the fence is law enforcement, because their job is to arrest. Let me tell you, I've been West Virginia, Baltimore, Camp Lejeune. Law enforcement is so far ahead of the curve now because of people like Detective Scott Kivett that it is really making a difference. And we asked Bill and Scott to be here because Bill has a segment every Friday called Blue Friday, right, Bill? Where the law enforcement community has been under assault this summer, and Bill has been recognizing what they're doing. Not only has Bill and 1015 been bringing light to this heroin opiate epidemic, but he brought light to what Scott is doing in Robbinsville. They're giving a chance for someone who is suffering from addiction to get help before they go too far down the road. And as Alexis will tell you, right, Alexis? Yeah. Alexis is my buddy. She's been in recovery a year now. What, 2 days ago? A couple days ago?
Good job, girl.
And when I introduced her to Scott Kivett, I said, you might recognize her. Yours is probably the only town she has not been arrested in. But in all seriousness, that's one of the things we found out is almost all of our family that are suffering from addictions have been arrested for having a sickness. And Bill and Scott are bringing attention to this and making the changes that are necessary to get them help rather than putting them in jail where they don't belong. So.